Welcome to AI Horror Stories. Prepare to be chilled. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell for daily doses of AI-generated fright. The first story name is Highway Hotel. Two friends Clara and Alice were driving through the highway, heading back to the city at night when their car suddenly began to slow down. Clara, who was driving, saw that the car was almost out of petrol. "Oh no, we have to find a petrol pump quickly or we will be stranded here," she told Alice. Alice stared ahead of the endless road. The thick fog made it difficult to see, but her eyes widened as she saw something. "There is a petrol pump just ahead. Keep going." As they came near, they realized the building was a hotel. A board with lightning read, "Highway Hotel." Why would someone build a hotel in such a deserted place? Alice thought. As they entered, they saw a man standing at the reception smiling widely. He must have been in his late 20s, and his name tag read Ben. "Hello, my name is Ben. How can I be of service?" "Hello? Our car ran out of petrol and we just wanted to know if we can get a refill," Alice informed politely. His smile disappeared and he stated seriously, "I'm sorry, there is no such arrangement right now, but I can book you a room and tomorrow morning make a call to the nearest petrol pump." Alice turned to Clara. "What do you think?" she asked. "Sounds okay, but we have to leave early tomorrow," she answered. "Okay. We will take the room," Clara informed him. "Okay, just write your names here and this is your key. I will escort you to your room. Please follow me," Ben announced. He walked past them at the end of the room while the girls followed him. They reached a staircase and they went up. They reached a narrow row of rooms situated on the opposite side of the walls. They started from 100 and continued. A strange aroma spread in the air. "What's that smell?" Alice complained. "It smells like some kind of chemical," Clara stated. "Yes, some rooms were sprayed with chemical recently for pest control," he stated. "Doesn't that bother the guests?" asked Clara. "Oh, those rooms are not occupied. Even your room was cleaned long before, so don't worry about it," he assured politely. After settling in their room, they were so tired that they decided to go to bed. After falling asleep for a few hours, Alice heard faint knocking at the door. She thought she was dreaming, but the sound was clearer the second time. She got out of bed and dragged herself towards the door and opened it. A young girl stared back at her. She must have been in her early 20s. Her face was pale white and she looked frightened. "You must leave, or he will get you," she hissed almost in a whisper. "Who will? What are you talking about?" Alice asked. The girl grabbed her arm. Alice tried to remove her hand, but her grip was strong and her touch was ice cold. This caused chills running down her spine. "You must leave. Your life is in danger," she hissed again, moving closer, causing her icy breath to sting her face. "What are you doing?" a voice called behind her. She turned and saw Clara sitting on her bed. She turned back to the girl, but she was gone. Alice closed the door and turned and walked towards Clara. "I think we should go now," Alice said. Clara looked at her wristwatch. "It's 12 midnight, and how will we go?" "Just walk back home for the rest of the night," Clara stated sarcastically. "I just met a girl who warned me about Ben, and don't you think it's weird that we haven't seen anyone else? Maybe it would be for the best to leave," Alice argued back. Clara's face whitened. "Okay, but we have to find some petrol first. It has to be somewhere. I will check downstairs and you can check one of the rooms." "Okay," Clara said in agreement. As Clara left, Alice tried to knock and open the doors. Suddenly she grabbed a doorknob and it unlocked and she entered the room. The girl whom she had met earlier was lying on a bed. "Hi, could you?" Alice began to speak, but as she turned on the switch of the ceiling bulb, the dim light it produced sent a strange appearance of the girl. Her skin was pale and gray. Her eyes stared straight at the ceiling wall and a strange chemical odor came from her. The girl was dead. Suddenly she heard loud, multiple clicking sounds. Completely frightened, she went outside to find all the room doors wide open. And she started running. As she ran, she saw glances of dead people lying on the beds. Her heart started to beat at extremely fast pace. She began to sweat profusely and she wasn't able to breathe. As she ran downstairs, she tripped over something. Looking back, she saw it was Clara lying on the floor. Suddenly, a sharp pain hits the back of her head. She screams in agonizing pain and falls to the ground. As her vision becomes blurry, she sees Ben pull out a steel rod and bring it crashing down on her, and she blacks out. The second story is Picture. I loved the realistic appearance of this piece of artwork. The painter has used the perfect combination of colors to make such a beautiful picture of under the sea with different types of fish and the varying shades of coral. It looked almost alive. I looked at the price tag, which read $5. I instantly grabbed it and took it to the counter. I hung it on the wall in my room in the hostel. Just then, my roommate Anya burst through the front door. "Okay, I am wearing a pink dress to the prom. Please tell me you are also not planning to wear pink. I don't want our dresses to clash," she announced while settling down on a chair. I rolled my eyes. "Don't worry, I am wearing a red dress," I replied. Anya, unlike me, always gets excited about social gatherings, especially with her attire. She is always well-dressed, just like now. Dressed in a mini green dress with matching high heel shoes, while I am wearing a plain gray shirt with blue jeans and sneakers. "Oh my God, did you just buy that picture? Jesus, Julia, you were supposed to buy the shoes for tonight," she exclaimed. "I did. These shoes were on discount and they will look great with my red dress." Saying so, I pulled out a shoe box from the plastic bag. She immediately snatched it from me and took out the shoes. While dropping the box after examining it closely, she handed it back to me. "These are great, but the one we chose yesterday were excellent. You should have bought those." Saying so, she walked away. She never liked my choice of shopping. There were many more differences we had. But despite all that, we had been best friends for 3 whole years. I sighed with a sense of relief as I entered my room. The hostel is practically empty. I guess I am the only person who decided to leave the prom early. I never really liked parties, prom, etc. I literally would prefer staying in my room and be on Facebook rather than socialize with people face to face. I checked the time. It was 9:15. Realizing how tired I was, I had my bath and went to sleep. I felt like being chased. No matter how fast I ran, it kept gaining on me. Finally, it caught me. Startled, I woke up. It was just a dream falling on my back. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. Maybe I need a glass of water. I got out of bed, switched on the light, and started to make my way to the kitchen. On the way, I glanced at the picture on the wall. It made me freeze at that spot. I concentrated on it. All the fishes were gone. How can this be possible? Staring closely, I saw a faint, tiny white spot appear in the center of the painting. It began to grow larger rapidly. Suddenly, a massive, large mouth with sharp fangs appears in front of me. Terrified, I fall to the ground and scramble backwards. I couldn't believe my eyes. A large shark just emerged out of that picture and was swimming across the room in mid-air. It stared at me, snarling and baring its terrible teeth. It began to swim towards me as I screamed loudly. Just then, the door opens and Anya walks in. The massive creature grabs her in its huge jaws and dives back into the picture. I watch it in extreme horror, with every core of my body shaking, swimming farther and farther away, taking my best friend with it. The next morning, I was still sitting in that exact position, frozen on the spot. I heard multiple knocking on the door. I didn't bother to open the door. The warden unlocks the door and comes towards me. "Julia, child, are you okay? You seem to be scared. Where's Anya?" Jade and Kathy said she told them she is heading back to the hostel before leaving the prom. "Where is she?" The warden kept asking, pausing between questions, waiting for me to answer. "It to okay her," I stammered in fright. "Who took her?" she asked. Gathering courage, I told her everything. Some of the girls gathered in my room and began to comfort me. A few hours later, 3 male police officers entered the room. One of them approached me and asked, "Hello, Julia. My name is Timothy. I need you to honestly tell whether Anya came here last night, or did she call you and say she will be somewhere else?" I confessed everything to him. "Look, tell us the truth and stop telling crazy stories," he continued in annoyance. This angered me. I grabbed his collar, violently making him choke. "Do you think I would lie about this? I am telling the truth," I screamed. The other 2 officers pulled me away from him while everyone else hurried out of the room. As the police officers walked out, they locked the door. I pressed my right ear against the surface of the door. "We still are not able to get access to Anya's mobile. Her whereabouts are still unknown. In the meantime, I would suggest you don't let Julia out. She seems to be in a shock," the police officer claimed. By nightfall, a heavy storm with lightning began to brew outside. At midnight, my heart started to pound heavily. I felt my vision going blurry due to fright. I looked at the picture. The fishes were gone. The white spot reappeared. It began to grow bigger and bigger. Finally, the fatal monster reappeared. It wasted no time in catching me between its jaws. Its sharp razor teeth dug deep into my stomach. I cried out an agonizing scream, but it is overpowered by the sound of thunder clapping. Finally, it dives back into the picture, swimming farther away, taking my lifeless body with it. The third story is Sister. Dennis and Kathleen are sisters and are living together in a flat in New York City. Dennis, who is the eldest, works as an accountant for one of the leading banks while Kathleen just begun her nursing job. One particular night while Dennis is at home, she received a text message from her. "Hi. My car just broke down and there are no cabs available. Please come and pick me up from here." Dennis drove to the required location and found Kathleen standing by the roadside. "Hi, what are you doing all the way out here?" Dennis asked as Kathleen got in, but she didn't say anything. Dennis noticed her handbag is missing. "Where's your handbag? Where did you park the car?" she asked. She remained silent. "Can we please go home? I am very tired," she complained. Dennis frowned and drove back home. The next morning, Dennis was having breakfast in the kitchen. Last night, as they arrived, Kathleen just went to her room without saying a word. After getting ready for work, she went and knocked on the door. "Kathy, good morning, aren't you going to work today?" she asked. Silence followed. Annoyed, Dennis left the house. At the work, she tended with a customer at her counter when the manager approached her. "Dennis, I need you to come with me. There is someone at the office who wants to see you," he informed me. "Okay." Saying so, she placed a next teller board on her counter and followed him. A police officer waited and requested that she must accompany her to the hospital. As they entered the hospital, he began to speak. "Yesterday, we retrieved a body at the old factory at Stewart Street. Not far from it, we found an abandoned car and retrieved your business card and a mobile from the handbag in it. I tried calling on your cell, but it was unreachable. Please follow me in here," he said as he entered a room and held the door open for her. Dennis entered. It was extremely cold. She instantly knew she was in a mortuary. There was a table at the center of the room with a corpse on it, which was covered with a white blank sheet. The officer removed the cloth to reveal the corpse's face. I stared in horror. It was Kathleen. "How can this be possible? She is at home," she thought. "Do you recognize this person?" he asked. "Yes. She is my sister," she said with tears in her eyes. "Oh, I am sorry for your loss, ma'am. Would you like me to drop you somewhere?" he offered. Dennis ran out of the room and hurried out of the hospital, crying as she ran on the street. People stared her. She cried all the way home. She realized that the location was the place where she picked Kathleen as she entered the apartment. She went to Kathleen's bedroom, the bathroom, kitchen. She searched every corner of the house. Her sister was gone. She came back to meet me for the last time, Dennis thought. Sobbing loudly, she pulled out her cell phone and called her parents. They immediately came to visit her. All family members and friends arrived in the next few days for the funeral. A few months later, Dennis entered the house and sat on the sofa. She heard faint noises in the room, and then footsteps began to approach her. It became clearer as they neared her. She stared in shock, wide-eyed. Kathleen walked up to her and sat on the sofa across from her. Feeling terrified, Dennis spoke to her. "Why are you back?" She glared at her with bloodshot eyes. The psychiatrist wrote down something in her book as Dennis continued to explain. "I am taking my medications and have been more socially active. I feel more positive about my life than ever. Do you fully understand now that Kathleen is deceased and she does not exist?" the psychiatrist assured. "I know that very well. The only problem is that she does not accept that and denies to leave. Before she used to be only at home, now she follows me everywhere," Dennis replied.